Club. I'm Mikey Burrows. Alongside me, as ever, is Chris Iwelumo. This episode, we're joined by a man who made 237 appearances over 10 years, scoring 17 goals as well. Welcome to the Old Gold Club, Jody Craddock.
Hello there, how you doing? You right? Drop the Darryl in, didn't you?
Yeah.
Just leave that out.
I tell you, I do this every week now because it makes me laugh, because everyone's sat there going, yeah, he's just going to do the introduction, he's going to get through it. And then, hang on a minute, he's pulled out the middle name. You get the full treatment, my friend.
Oh, very nice of you.
After 10 years at the club, you deserve everything.
I deserve the Darryl.
You deserve the royal treatment around this place. I'm annoyed that people haven't laid out a red carpet for you.
Well, you know, that's what happens, isn't it, when you're retired?
You get forgotten about.
Exactly.
You're not wrong. We have to go to exactly where it started, because someone took the credit for you even coming to Wolves. But
Paul Butler was in a few weeks ago, and he claims that he effectively recommended you to Dave Jones.
Oh, okay, because I was at Sunderland with Butts for a few years, yeah.
And obviously he thought that highly of you. He knew that you were the man to come in and put things right here.
I did that. I don't know if that happened, but mind you, I came in and then Butts went out, so I can't imagine that he said, come and sign me, but maybe he did, I don't know.
Because you arrived at a time when the club had just been promoted.
Yeah.
The transfer policy was a little bit out there. Paul Butler talked a lot about that, by the way, and the fact that they were hoping to do certain things, and they ended up with a new look defence that was Oleg Luzny, Isaac Okoronkwo, Jolyon Lescott just got injured.
Yeah, Jolyon was injured, so I think I came in because Jolyon was injured.
And you kind of went from there, really.
Yeah. I just remember Oleg Luzny. I can't even say his name, but yeah. And that signing surprised me a bit, but there you go. You know, he signed just after I did. I remember we played a midweek. You know, it's usually the first or second week of the season you play a cup game, don't you? I don't know what it was, the Worthing Cup or something. And like, if you've been in the first team, you usually get to rest that game, you know, because it's a midweek game. And I remember he played centre half. I'm thinking, okay, I'm on the bench, that's fine. I can have a rest for the big game Saturday, whoever it was against. Literally first few minutes, the ball's come in, centre half, right, head it. He's literally turtleneck, ducked it, and it's gone over his head. And I'm thinking, I know where this is going. Amanda's gone, right, Craddock, get warmed up. You're going on. And that's, I don't think he played much after that, to be honest. But it was a strange signing, but there you go.
You said there that obviously Julian was injured and you came in. Now, when you come from a massive club, Sunderland, you know, ever present, they thought so highly of you, and you come to a club like Wolves. What's your mindset? Because you know that you're coming in, you know that Julian, if fit, he's probably going to come in and play. So what do you tell yourself to get the best out of yourself? I know that you've already spoke about it before in the previous bit about the mindset coming in. Be the best that I can. Don't leave any stone unturned. Do what you can do. But is it difficult?
You know, I always set my standards as hard as, like, that's all I based my career on, is working as hard as I could. And if it was good enough, I'd be in the team. You know, it's quite that simple, really, black and white. You know, work as hard as I could, make sure I'd done my weights when I wasn't, you know, in the morning before training, finish off after training, work. I always train like I'd play on a Saturday, so I'd be on full tilt in training, because I knew that's the only way I could be successful. And I come to the club thinking, I wasn't coming in thinking, you know, Jolyon, he was loved at the Wolves, and he still is, and kind of, you know, big shoes to fill. But I was a different type of player, and it was a tough first first season in the Premiership there. But yeah, I just got to, you know, you do have to we got relegated, so you just have to kind of try and be as focused as you can and work as hard as you can, and just go out and do my job, which I got to do every Saturday, and fingers crossed it's good enough for the manager to pick you next week.
So when you come in, so as I say, because if you look about it, and I've had a lot of clubs, as you'll know, and you think about the ultimate professionals, you get them in, but you were at Wolves, everyone would say yourself, coming into the club, Wolves, the way that it was, the dressing room, the way that it was that difficult for you, as in, because you come in, you're set in your ways, you do it the way, but you can see that there was quite a few big characters that probably weren't as professional, or am I wrong in saying so?
No, I think you're right. But I'd have a routine and I'd just stick to it, and that would be it.
No matter the environment.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm quite a quiet person anyway. So I'm not the type of person to sit in the change room and be, everybody look at me, I'm really funny, look at this, Some players are, and it's brilliant, and that's what a change room needs. I wasn't, so I could easily just go do my thing in the gym, and that's what I'd do. I'd have my routine. And it didn't matter who was in the change room. I'd just go and do it.
Because he was saying to me earlier that there'd be some times where he'd come in and be like, "Was Jody in today?" You were that quiet in the dressing room. Didn't notice.
But when you spoke, everyone listened. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like when you walk in, you deal with your own. You know what your job is. You got on with your business. But if someone else was to step out of line, I don't imagine you just letting that pass.
Depends what it was, I suppose, wouldn't it? How out of line. That's what your manager's for, I suppose. If it's on the pitch, he's going to pull him, isn't he?
Yeah.
I was never a ball. When I speak to the kids at the weekend, I run kids football teams, and always, my little one's 10 years old, so he's just become the captain of his team, and he didn't want to be the captain because he didn't want to do the 3 cheers at the end because he's too nervous to do the 3 cheers. And I said, it's not about being big and shouting and being the loudest person on the pitch. I said, it's about you just going and playing how you've played and being consistent and working your hardest and being a leader, and then people look at that and think, oh, that's, look up to that and work as hard as that, and that kind of rubs off on other people. It's not about being a shouter. I've never thought it's about being a shouter and a that type of person.
And I know what you're saying, but I think there's also a responsibility of a captain to govern the dressing room. I think it's something that Mick McCarthy spoke about. He says he recruited players that he knew that he could trust that would go in, and the dressing room should really govern itself. I'm just thinking that certain situations where you'd see the likes of Carl Henry, or there was many times that even when we were flying, that we'd have like team meetings and things were said, and you would always put your bit in, and like you say, when you spoke, players listened. But I think there's also been periods of times where there's been difficult dressing rooms. That one that you first came into would have been a dressing room that had probably lack of discipline.
Yeah.
There was leaders there were good players there, but still there was certain things that needed to clip together for it to be the perfect dressing room.
Yeah.
And then over a period of time at Wolves, there was certain things that the dressing room was divided. As a captain, as a vice captain, as a leader in that dressing room, what's your role in that? Do you get?
I do. When I was captain, we had a great dressing room. We got promotion, and we had a couple of I found when I wasn't captain, then it was someone else, or Carl Henry was captain, and and things weren't quite as smooth as they were. We got relegated. It wasn't then my role to step in and do that. When I first joined, and it was like you had your Inces and your Dennis Irwins. I was coming into that, so I wasn't a captain at all. I just had to get on with my thing, and they had that role to do that. But there was quite a few strong characters there.
Yeah.
But they had that. Good team morale because they've just been promoted. But then obviously, like you said, the real test is when you get relegated. That's the test. Who's gonna step in and keep it together? And
so when things started to go badly in the Premier League,
yeah,
in the second time you'd been in the Premier League with Wolves, and you were that senior man in the dressing room, you'd been captain. I think you were still vice captain.
Yeah, vice captain. What's that?
Yeah. Like, how did you see your role in amongst all that? Certainly in that Carl Henry, Roger Johnson issues in the dressing room period.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because when you went the captain, you kind of, I'm sitting back thinking, I could have even been injured as well. I didn't actually play too many times in that final year. My last game I played was Sunderland at home. It's tough. How do you control it? What as a vice captain? I don't even know if I was vice captain, but how do you influence that? It's tough when you're going to get relegated because it comes down to small things. The gaffer brings a new player in. He brought Roger Johnson in, just immediately pushed me to the bench, and then I'm watching Roger Johnson play, and I'm thinking he struggled for like 2 or 3 months, and he wasn't getting any better, and the gaffer just persisted. I'm thinking, hold on, I'm sat here, I'm ready to play football, and I'm as fit as I've ever been, and you keep putting him in, and then at that point I'm thinking, I'm not happy now.
Yeah.
So why am I going to step in and start saying this and this when I'm trying to get my own place back in the team?
You're spot on, and this is what I don't think people understand, and it's like, first and foremost, as a footballer, you want to play. You know, and I think someone coming in and you don't wish them to have a nightmare, but you think, I'm up for the challenge. You know, I'm going to compete. And if you're not given the fair chance to compete, that's frustrating. Yeah. Now, we've had Roger in here, we've had Carl in here, they've spoke about it. We've had players in that dressing room that seen what was going on, that were disappointed. There was a divide. There was players that thought Roger should be captain, there was players that thought Carl should be captain, and it wasn't, you know what I mean? So that in itself caused the divide. You were in that dressing room, but you're sitting thinking, your first priority is, I want to be playing. Why am I not playing? You know what I mean? And it's not one of those, it's not, well, I don't care what's going on in the dressing room, because every individual player wants to play. If you don't want to play, you should be playing football.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? So I understand where you're coming as, where I'm sitting thinking, right, well, Jody, if I'm in that dressing room and it's a divide, I know I'd have my say in it. But like you say, if I'm not playing in the team and I'm training and I think I deserve my chance to play.
Yeah, but do you not get to a certain stage where, like, you know, you were, I don't want to say getting on, because that sounds terrible, because you're probably the age that I am now. But like, you are the senior man in the dressing room. You've been there. You've been around the football club for a long, long time. Do you not feel like you're the man who goes, right, things are going badly. I may not be in the team, but I'm sorting this out.
What was I going to say? Look, Mick, I should be playing this team. Drop Rog. I can do a better job. You know, that doesn't happen. I'm not going to say that. I can express.
Oh, yeah, but not necessarily playing, but like the issues that were in the dressing room at the time.
But they stem from not winning games, don't they? That's how it stems. You know, you don't win games, and then it causes little
frictions,
things. Yeah. So from not winning games, the be all and end all is winning a game of football on a Saturday. If you don't win games, then little things seep in, and that's when the issues become. Because we had Jamie O'Hara, and then we had Adeline. Adeline was playing, and I used to think Adeline was a great player. But Jamie come in and kind of really dampened Adeline's game down the way he maybe, they're both centre midfielders, and Jamie O'Hara, he kind of dampened him down, and he would dig him out. And I think, Addy wasn't the type of player to stand up and say, look, I'm not having it, And then I think Adeline left the club in the end.
Do you wish you'd have stood up for him? Would you have gone to Jamie?
I'm trying to get my own place back in the team, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what do I say though? Look, Jamie, you can't say that. You got to be, put your arm around him. Could I have said it? Maybe I could have said it. I don't know, but I didn't, because I think got in my own head. I want my place back in the team, and you keep playing Roger Johnson, and he ain't doing any good. And
I mean,
I'm already frustrated myself.
Yeah, I mean, he himself said on his episode that he was asking Mick to drop him because he was in that bad form.
Yeah, and he was in bad form. Yeah.
Because one of the things that me and Liam were talking about this morning when we were on our way in.
He was asking him to drop it.
Yeah, he was saying, like, take me out of the team.
That just
I
makes
was asking him to play me. He didn't even listen to me. He didn't listen to him.
I mean, there's clearly new information for you on that.
Yeah, that's new. I've never known anyone to ask someone to drop them.
Let's put it this way. Was it very evident that there's a lot of characters in that dressing room, and they've all admitted it themselves, that they just solely focused on themselves rather than the collective? I think Carl's never going to stay quiet, and no matter any situation, if he sees someone dampening down someone else, he'll get involved, because that's just what Carl was. So again, I can't imagine, because being in the dressing room with Carl at Stoke, with him here, and a lot of those players, I can't see a lot of them allowing that to go on. That gets nipped in the bud straight away. So that just says to me that how that negative atmosphere that must have been in that dressing room, that people just focused on not getting results. There's pressure on going out and trying to get the result, then not playing, people wanting to play, people feeling not part of it. So again, it is just a massive cycle of just negativity there. But again, for players not to dampen little things up, because I hate that. I hate seeing it doesn't even need to be an experience, but you speak to someone the right way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I always done that through my career. I never had a proper go at someone. So there's certain things that I understand from a professional point of view why Jody thinks, right, I'm not playing. My first priority is to get myself back in the team.
Yeah, I wasn't captain. Carl was captain, so I didn't have that. That wasn't my role. But mind you, Carl had then been dropped from captain, and who was captain? Roger Johnson. Well, there you go. That Roger Johnson. That's why he never dropped Roger, I believe, because he made him captain. I think that was the first mistake. He made him captain. He shouldn't have made him captain. He should have kept
admitted that as well, by the way.
Yeah, should have kept Carl Henry, because Yeah. How do you drop your captain after 2 or 3, 4 games? You don't, do you?
One more point on this before we move on, and I do want to talk to you about good things because there were plenty of them. We were talking on our way in and said there was a perception certainly from in the media side at the time that every time in the Premier League that there was a problem, that they needed a result, you were the go-to man. It was like, we're going to bring Jody back in. Do you ever feel like you were a little bit underappreciated in those Premier League years? Because you played a lot in the first season and then your appearances became lesser, but it was like, we need more stability. We need some authority. We're going to stick Jody in for a bit. Do you feel like that to you?
I don't know. You know, it's tough. I always felt like, mind you, maybe it was just the type of player I was. I was never going to be a top player. I was never going to be at the top in the top, 3 or 4 teams, 5 teams even. It wasn't in my ability. So I was always the type of player that, you knew what you were going to get. I was going to come in, I was going to work my absolute socks off, and I was going to give you everything on that pitch, and I was going to set some standards and make my headers and my tackles and chip in the goal every now and then. But you kind of knew what you were going to get. I was never going to be a baller that was going to bring it out from the back and pick like a killer pass like Cody can do. I was never going to do that because that wasn't in my game. I was never, brought up that way as a player. So I don't know. It was frustrating at times, but I just
Do you
kind
believe
of
in
thought,
yourself enough?
Well, I was just
You said to us earlier when we were talking about the art stuff on the podcast that like you always felt like, especially at Sunderland, like it could end any day.
Yeah, but I come into the game late. I came in at 18, didn't I? So that's why I think I wanted it more, because I come in so late. Because I was never good enough till I got to the age of 18 when I grew a bit and I played more football at the weekend. But I think I always believed in myself. Yeah, you got it as a footballer, so that you can go out and perform. I kind of just I was never naturally gifted. Everything I did was through really hard work, which was, I can truly believe that somebody wants to be a footballer, they can be a footballer. They've just got to work really, really hard. If I'd have known all this as a kid myself, if I'd have just put in extra hours, I'd have been even better than kind of what I was. So, but you tell your kids that, and they're playing on their phones and their computers and don't really listen, do they? But
I think what you've said there, that you couldn't bring the ball out and you couldn't make that big. Yes, you could. This is what I'm trying to say. But you would put your head where most people wouldn't. You would make your challenges. I think you brought goals. You're sitting top goal scorer in the Premier League for Wolves for season for a long period. So we've got to think that. I think it's probably the manager's idea of how they want to play. Like the defender today is, there's more priority put on them coming out with the ball and passing the ball than going and just defending.
Yep.
And it will swing back. It is starting to come back. Just go and defend. You said there that you couldn't go and play at these top. You would still believe in yourself if you got the chance, and you would do a job. You know what I mean? You are one of those steady 7 to 8, 7 to 9 kind of players, and that's what you've always been. But you could do all those things. You know what I mean? It's just strange when you're saying I couldn't bring the ball out and play, because you did. I've watched you do it.
Yeah.
I've seen you do it. I've seen you play that big diagonal to Jarvo, and
I suppose because it wasn't the strong
it's not
part
an
of my
area,
game.
but it's still a game that you could. It's still a part of your game that you could do.
Yeah, it's football, isn't it?
But there were some like amazing periods. I mean, I want to take you back to when Mick first comes in, because you were brought in by Dave Jones. You have the period under Glenn Hoddle, and then Mick comes in and makes you captain, and it felt like it was like a hard reset at that point. But it started an amazing journey of 3 or 4 years, didn't it?
Yeah. I've always said Mick's the best manager I've ever worked under. To be captain, I've managed to be captain at every club I play for, and it's a privilege. But that comes down to, I say it time and time again, just hard work and leading by example, and that's how you become a captain. And I'd do it in training. I'd be on time. I'd be early. I'd be on time. Everything. I think it just builds up, and then they're like, we can rely on him. We can trust him. Yeah. Did
you know early on though? Like Michael Kitely talks about knowing early on that you were on a journey, that he knew it was going to happen. Did you think that? Because you'd seen both sides of this football club by that point.
Yeah. It's a tough one. I remember, it's one of them. Oh, I hope it's. Mine was more like, I hope it's going to happen. I've worked so hard this season. It's everything's looking great. I really do hope it's going to happen. 'Cause like I said, stuff can fall around in seconds. From experiences I've had myself, it falls apart in seconds. So you kind of know how it happens. So, yeah, I'm a kind of. That's why I then push and push and push that them mistakes don't happen, and they didn't happen, and we got promoted, and it was brilliant.
You know what? And it's like that pre-season. I remember we went up to Scotland and things, and we come down and we started so well. You broke your metatarsal. You see us flying, right? But you're such a big part of that team as well. To get yourself back in, you know what I mean? The mindset, the mentality, that must have been difficult as well, because you don't feel part of it when you're injured, do you?
No,
you don't.
you
see success there. You're coming in every day. You're doing your rehabilitation. How difficult must that have been for you?
Tough at the start. The first, yourself. The initial injury, the day it comes, you're like, this is it. It's the end of the world type of stuff. You're thinking, how am I going to get back from this? And then I'm kind of, after a few days, I'm like, right, I'm going to come back fitter and stronger and faster and whatever. I'm going to work really hard. And you push yourself to get back to training. And then you kind of sat waiting, aren't you? You're sat waiting to get back in the team. And, you want promotion, but I also want my opportunity in the team. So I want somebody to mess up and do so. I want to win a game, you guys to win the game 4-2, and the defender to make a couple of mistakes so I can come in and play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's true.
It's true. Yeah. It's selfishly ruthless, and it's a. I've got to pay my own bills. As that's what it comes down to. My career as a footballer. If I just happily sat on the bench for my whole career, I wouldn't have gone anywhere and done anything. So I want my place back in the team. I want to be involved in this team that's going to get promoted.
Yeah.
Hopefully get promoted.
So when you lifted the championship trophy, then talk to me about that feeling, because there's no feeling like it.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. How did you compare? It's just memories, isn't it? Memories. I've got the paint. I did the painting. I've got the photos, the videos. It's memories. It's
my face is cut out of that, by the way, by the trophy. It's an absolute bloody disgrace. You could have put my face at the side of it or something.
We all walked out. You all go out. You stand in your lines, and Loons thought, right, central. You're going to get right in the centre of the picture. As soon as he picked the cup up, it covered his face.
I knew you'd laugh at that one, Mikey.
Yeah, I do like that. Did you have a conversation with Carl about who gets to lift it?
No, Mick McCarthy told us.
He told you you both lifted?
Yeah. But I had the armband on, so it was all right.
So you're the one that's remembered as being captain to lift it?
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
Because how much more special was that, given what had happened a couple of years earlier in the playoffs? The infamous game with Albion.
It was, but we weren't ready at that point. We weren't ready for promotion. I think we just had Wayne Hennessy just come into the team as well. I think he played in
Matty got injured, didn't he? On the eve of it.
Mick Ramey said, look, we're going to have, Wayne Hennessy's going to come in. I want you to say, take him under your wing, kind of support him. And but we just weren't ready. We weren't, we weren't wise enough. We weren't ready for it. But then season after we were.
Because you had some experienced players in that team. I'm just looking at it now. It was you and Gary Breen.
Yeah.
At centre half. We all dream of a team of Gary Breens. Neil Collins, Jackie McNamara, Michael Kitely, Stephen Ward, Shea Olafinyana, Darren Potter, Michael McIndoe as kind of younger players in around it. Stephen Gleeson was involved, Jay Bothroyd, Andy Keogh. But kind of at the back, you had some real kind of good old hands in there.
Yeah. But then looking from that team to the team that got promoted, it's quite a different team, isn't it? So, So Mick's done a good job there, to be honest. He's taken one team which nearly got promoted, and the new team, a new team, basically has gone and we strengthened up and done a great job.
Because what was the best team that you played in? Because you played in quite a few different ones.
Yeah, that team, yeah.
The 09.
The promotion team, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I watched, I did some interview, weeks ago, and so I watched the video. Just to kind of think, some questions are going to come up. I'm going to have to watch it. I've never watched it, the run through of the season, just to see. And I remember watching it thinking, God, the boys were really, really good. Like, how good they were. Like, exceptionally good.
No, it's funny that you
He's
say
probably
that.
watched it loads,
Yeah,
by the way.
I've actually haven't. I'll make sure that
It's
I
the
do.
first time I've seen it.
I need to watch it.
He was asking the video team earlier to start editing his highlights and stuff from
need
it.
another post. This social media lark is getting difficult. You know, I'm trying to find something to post. Do you know what I mean? No, but on that, so I think if you look at the quality of certain individuals from previous squads, they were probably better. They were probably more experienced. But I think that group as a whole collective had everything, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, everyone it maxed out. Everyone got the best. You know what I mean? Because the atmosphere, the environment that it was. And I think when you look at it and say that's the best group, it's because it ticks all those boxes.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think, you know what I mean? Whereas if you look at another group, there's certain individuals that you think, oh, you probably wouldn't bring him in because he's not got the right character or something. But the quality, and I think that's the bizarre thing about football, isn't it? It's a group, a collective. There's certain teams in the Premier League today that you wouldn't that probably are surpassing all expectation, but it's because the collective, the environment that they've created, that they can go out and perform at the best. It's football. It's a strange thing about how people talk to each other, how they get the best out of each other, demands they put on each other, and I think that's so. As it's saying that, I understand why you're saying it. Whereas I think from the outside looking in, people say, no, I definitely take him over him.
Yep.
But in that group, a certain character, a big character, might be a negative impact to what is a.
Well, this is the thing. Like you, in your eras, that first team had some amazing big characters and experience from it. The Glenn Hoddle era is one where, from a fan's point of view, people didn't really like it. A lot of players who played in that said that Glenn was amazing.
I got on fine with Glenn, and I know what I think we drew more games.
You just didn't score goals.
We didn't score goals. We drew a hell of a lot of games. We hardly lost a game. We drew so many games. We didn't accumulate the points. Which I never had an issue with Glenn. I always remember he'd join in training and he'd try and stick one in the top corner every session from the outside of it, outside of his foot. He tried to do it every session in the top corner. He did it one day and it was just like, all the lads are like, oh, I could hear it. Oh, I was like, oh no. And then they all try and snap him and that. But, but I got on fine with him. Never had any issues.
How did you feel when he came in? Obviously Dave Jones was replaced with Glenn Hoddle. Was that something then that you just think, right, okay, it's a clean slate, I've got to now show this new man what I'm about?
Yeah, I've got to prove to him now that I need to be in the team. And he was okay. I was, it's quite exciting. But yeah, we just didn't score enough goals. We didn't play bad football. We just didn't score goals. But we didn't, didn't lose games either. Just kind of a nothing zone. We just drew a load of games. I remember it.
A lot of the players that have spoken about him have said that he was way beyond other coaches at that time, just with the way that he trained, his analysis, his thoughts behind the game.
There wasn't anything out of the ordinary that I hadn't done in other points in my career. So from that point of view, no. I just think Glenn thought, we were a championship team trying to get in the Premiership. I think he thought he was, managing a Premiership team. Yeah, I think that was the difference. And, we weren't. We were a Championship team trying to get in the Premiership. And maybe that's why it didn't work. But he had Stuart Gray with him, and I thought Stuart Gray was brilliant. Right, I really enjoyed, Stuart Gray being the coach. I think he went on to be a manager after when Glenn left. He was the manager, wasn't he, for a bit? So he was good.
10 years, and we'll get into the last year on the podcast extra, which will be available to listen to in all the usual places. But 10 years in one football club. Do you think it'll be... Will many people ever do that again? I mean, Matt Doherty's closing in.
Yeah.
In the current crop.
I don't know. You don't see it often, do you? You don't see it often. What does it come down to? I don't know. Just they tried to get rid of me a few times. I just kept coming back. Went to Stoke, didn't I, for a bit? So they did try and get rid of me. Mick did, and then come back. I don't know.
That's why I say you're like the great survivor.
Yeah, I've always been loyal to the clubs. I've only had 3 clubs, so there ain't many nowadays. And I just enjoyed being here. So I didn't want to leave. I never wanted to leave.
Is it true you still live in the same house that you bought when you first moved out?
That's it. Yeah. So back up in Cookley near Kidderminster.
Just comfortable. Never wanted to be anywhere
No,
else.
that's it. And you have children, don't you? So then to move and do something different is a big upheaval, and it's like, you know, kids get happy in school, and then it just works.
So how do you sum up 10 years as a Wolverhampton Wanderers player?
Oh, I loved it. You know, I loved playing football. I was loyal to them. The fans were great. Sung me a song, albeit, you know, it's got a swear word in it. But yeah, great.
The
you know,
lads are working
adds it
in the back.
ups and downs, but fantastic. You know, met some good friends, which I'll keep for life, and yeah, it's always great to come back, and I'm always welcomed.
Would you do anything different?
Yeah, I took a penalty in the cup and I missed it. It's my only regret. People say, have you got any regrets? Yeah, one regret. I missed 2 penalties in my whole career, and I just think, why didn't I put it bottom left corner? I went for kind of top left and I missed both 2 penalties, exactly the same. Just went over the crossbar. Should have put bottom left. That's my only regret in the whole of my football career.
That's nice, though, isn't it? To be able to say that, to be able to look back and go, I wouldn't do anything different apart from one penalty.
Yeah. 2 penalties, yeah. One was at Sunderland in the cup, and one was at Wolves in the cup. But then I think I've rectified it because I played for the Wolves All Stars, and I had to take a penalty. And all I can think of, I've missed 2 penalties, and I put it in the bottom left corner. I think, that's solved this. That's solved the scenario. I'm happy now. I'm
At the third time of asking,
I'm happy with it. Not quite the standard that I was playing at before, but it did the job.
There is loads more we're going to get into with Jody Craddock on our full podcast, available from all the usual places, of course, backed by Blythe Group this year. Thank you very much for watching. Check out that podcast.